Guys, we're going to talk about all things weaving. I did a plate weaving video which goes over the basics of weaving as well. You may want to check that out first. Today we're going to be making something on a cardboard loom. This is just one idea. This is like a bookmark, but if you wanted to expand it and make a wall hanging, you can do that too. So I'm going to go over the basics of setting up your loom and how to do that. You can make it bigger or smaller based on what you would like to create. And so I'm going to go through and show you how I did this one. But I'm going to link to a lot of different options for you to check out different ideas, because when it comes to weaving, there's the basics of how to do this, but there's so many options. So I want you to not feel limited by some of the things that I show you. So we're going to start off with warping the loom. I'm actually going to make most of this video so you just see my hands, because I really want you to see what I'm creating here on the loom as opposed to just seeing my pretty face, okay? So you need yarn and you need your needle and you'll need some tape, okay? So make sure you have a bunch of different kinds of yarn. I gave you little tufts of yarn of different colors. And those things, and you're ready to go, okay? This is your cardboard loom. This is a little more advanced when we're weaving, and so you may want to just start with your bowl weaving. That may be a better option for you to start off. But I'm going to show you how to, what we call warping your loom. You should have a bit of this string that I've already cut off for you. And with this string, I'm just going to pull some off. We're going to set up our loom, okay? So you'll take your string, and depending on how wide you want what you're making. If you're making a bookmark, I just made mine about this wide on my loom, but if you're making a wall hanging, you could fill the whole thing. You also, and I'll link as well on the page, you could also fill this whole thing, do front and back, whatever you'd like. So when you're warping your loom, the first thing to do is to take some tape, and I am just going to tape this down. I'm going to take it through one of the notches. These are brand new, and so I've used mine once, but you just want to be careful. I'm going to tape mine over here because I'm not using the whole thing. You don't have to. So when you warp your loom, you literally just take it straight down like this, and I'm already off one, straight down, and then you just come back up, go through the notch. Again, these are new, so you'll want to play around to make sure and kind of loosen them. Take your loom down, back up, down, back up, and you want this fairly tight. So make sure you hold the string taut. That means tight, okay? So down, down. And notice how whatever I'm doing on this side looks identical on the other side, okay? So if these little cardboard notches ever break, it's totally fine. You can always just tape them back together. So, okay, so that's pretty good. That's how I'm gonna keep it. My string got a little tangled right here, so let me pull that out. Okay, I'll take it up. Let's see, I have enough for one more. Okay, so there's the end, and again, I'm just going to tape this over here. So this is how wide I'm keeping mine. Make sure, see, I already found a mistake. Make sure that these aren't super loose. If you can pull them out really well, like this one right here is really loose. So that's not going to hold my yarn very well. So I'm actually going to untape this and fix my mistake. So I'm going to come back here and pull these strings to tighten them. Okay. So I'm just tightening it. That way I didn't have to like unstring everything. Okay. So this one just needs to be tightened because somehow I brought it over the side. Pull it up. Okay. back down, and then I will just tape this on. Okay, so now I have my warped loom, okay? So you can see all of the sides. Doesn't matter which side you start on. One side's gonna look a little off. The next thing you're gonna do is take your string, and I'm gonna show you how to start that next, okay? Okay, I'm starting with just a piece of string. It's not too long. The longer your string gets, and you'll see in a later video, it can get tangled. So just be careful. You wanna thread your needle. So take your needle like this, okay? And just go ahead and stick it in. You're gonna wanna tie it off. So tie a knot like this, okay? And you're ready to go. The needles really help just when you're weaving and when you're following that pattern. So when you weave, you always go under, over, under, over, under, over, or over, under, over, under. It's the same thing, you just want an alternating pattern. So the reason why I use my needle is because I can go under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Just like this. Let me see if I can zoom in. So hopefully you can see that. So the first time I do that, I'm gonna pull my string all the way through until I get to the end. So once I've got to the end, you could just leave this, or I'm actually going to just tie a knot so that I don't accidentally pull it out later on this last string, okay? And then I'm gonna just pull it down. Okay, if you want to do some zigzags or different patterns with your weaving, I'm gonna include this blogger that I found, did some really cool designs, and I'll just include the pictures and the link below. I'm just gonna show you the basics. So when you look here, you want to repeat your pattern, but you want to alternate. So I'm going back this way, okay? So I look at my first yarn and I notice, oh, I started under. So this time I'm gonna start over and then under, over, under, over. Oops. It's hard to do this while I'm standing. Over, under. And see, I'm just doing every other one. If you wanted to, you could even use a popsicle stick so as to alternate your strings like that. And then you just pull it through. Okay, so I'm just pulling it. Like that. And I just do the same thing. I go back. Now it started over right here. So this time I go under, over, under, over, under, and I pull it through here. And again, I pull it tight. Don't pull it too tight. This was something that I had a problem with when I did it the first time, is that I pulled it really tight, and so these lines, they kind of started to go in. So I don't like that. You may just want to make it bigger as well. So then you pull this tight, and when you see this gap, just always push down. Those white lines, the warping that you did, will start not to show, and you'll see your weaving. So you just keep going over, under, all the way up. And on the next video, you'll see what you do as you continue to work your way up the loom. Okay, just a few alternate things you could do. You could make it really wide. You could make it double-sided. That's another thing. If you're interested in doing that though, I might need to demonstrate that, so just ask. Okay, there you go, have fun. Okay, just wanted to show you the loom up close. I've been working on a bookmark, and that's probably one of the things you'll be working on. And I wanted to show you, I've just been weaving that alternate pattern, under, over, and then I do opposite. So if you see right here where the needle is, I've done under, over. I'm gonna pull the yarn through, and I have a really long piece of yarn, so this could take a minute. Let me pull the yarn through. Probably should have done this first. Especially with these big pieces of yarn, they're gonna get tangled really easily, but it's no big deal. You just kind of pull it tight. undo the knot like I just had to do, and it's out. Okay, so still continuing to pull. So you notice I've done several lines here. Let's see if it'll zoom in on those. Okay, so I've done several lines with under, over, and then alternate. And then once you've done a few, you can take a fork, actually works really well to pull the yarn down. Or I'm just using my fingers and I just pulled it down like that to tighten it. And so if you see that alternating pattern right there, now I've tightened it. You'll, as you do more and more yarn, you won't see the white of the warping when you're done. Okay, so that's what you're going to continue to do. I've done some alternate color patterns and I'll talk about those and include some videos and things that you can look at that have or some pictures that have different ideas. But I'm just going to keep working up the loom. Working on my bookmark, I did add like a few tassels and different things as well as I was working. So I'll show you some of those things. Okay, I'm getting to the end of the loom. I'm gonna stop a little early. I like how mine looks like a mermaid tail. If you wanted to do a tassel, I left a little bit extra piece of yarn here. Okay, you can always just make a tassel by folding the yarn like this, okay, and then taking it and wrapping it around two pieces of yarn like that, and then you just pull it through, and that's how you can make a little tassel. Okay, when you're ready to take your weaving off the loom, okay, just keep this here. You're going to turn it over, and what you're going to do is you're going to take some scissors and cut. I'm going to cut down here. I'm going to leave about at least 2 inches just to make it easier, and then I'm going to cut again right here. Okay, so I've just cut this part off. Now I'm also going to undo the tape where I had taped it onto the loom just to make life easier. Okay, so these are actually going to end up being the tassels for your bookmark as well. Very carefully you're going to take these strings out of the loom, out of the notches. These notches were very tight to begin with, so you want to pull, but just be careful as you pull them through. Okay, so you just kind of pull these, if I can pull it, these little notches through. Again, just be careful. If you need someone to do this to help you, if you accidentally break one of these, not the end of the world, but they can break, just so you know. Okay, so I've pulled down that side, and you can see I've got this loose right here, and then I'm going to just do the opposite side, pulling these out, just kind of ripping them. Okay, so now I'm done with my loom. Okay, so I've got my string. This string, you'll notice I never tied on, and so I'm going to show you how to make the tassels at the bottom, and we're just going to include this in the tassel. Okay, so these left open would of course be an issue because everything would just eventually fall off of the strings. And so what you're going to do, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 even number of strings, and so I'm going to take 2 strings at a time, and you can do this either way. One of the easiest ways is just to take it and tie a basic knot, and just pull it through, take your knot and tighten it. Okay, and do that twice at least, maybe even more. Okay, and so that's going to keep it tied, and then this is going to look like a little cat, like a little tassel. Okay, Another thing you could do if you wanted it to be rounded, you could wrap this around your finger and then you pull these through. Okay, and just pull the knot up. That's a different kind of knot. It's just gonna keep those two together like that. Okay, so either one, you may not be able to see. Let's see if I can. Okay, so there's just two different types of knots. This one's just a little tighter. This one's gonna be a little looser. Notice how this extra string that I was working with is now loose. So the next two strings that I do from the warping, I'm going to add that in. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take these two and just tie a basic square knot, tying them together and then tying them again. Okay, if you have any problems with knots, I know that's really the trickiest part about weaving, is getting comfortable with the knots. So you can kind of see what my tassels look like on the end. And I'm gonna go eventually just trim this. So I've got two more sets to tie. You may like this tassel look and want to keep it that way. You may want to trim them. Either way is fine. Okay, and then I've got my last two. I'm going to tie in a knot and tie again. Okay, sorry, you're just seeing my hands. I know. Okay, so that's one end like that. You can create those tassels. I'm just going to trim everything so it's the same size like that. And then there's one side of my bookmark like that. I'm going to do everything I just did to the other side as well, and then you're all done. Mine, I think I said this, it looks like a mermaid. So you can see, like, here's her top, here's her nice little mermaid tail. So anyway, there's my bookmark. Okay, I'll just finish this side up and then you can use this to slide in to your books. Okay.